afternoon, dear students. Today we consider the topic number 5 about building the team. Our objectives. The first, goal setting for the team. Then we consider size and diversity of team. Then rules and roles, optimizing conflict in the team, virtual teams, creativity and innovation. And at the finish of our lecture, we consider who is more creative, group or individuals. So let's start from the first question, goal setting for the team. Professor Ray Reagans and his colleagues did an interesting investigation of the success of hip and knee replacement surgeries at Carnegie Mellon hospitals. It's interesting to note that these surgeries are completed by teams of doctors. The key predictor of how successful this surgery was in terms of fewer patient complications, speed of discharge, and so on, is not based on how famous or successful the doctor was, or even how many surgeries the doctor had performed. Rather, it was based on how many times the team had performed this surgery together. A similar study, which looked at commercial flight incidents, found that the absence of disasters was determined by how many times the crew had flown together. We are going to raise 3 questions about building teams. The question number 1. What is the team? If you said group of people, think again. A group is an aggregate of people, but a team is an interdependent group of people working towards a shared goal. There are 2 key parts to that definition. So please look. The first, interdependent, means that none of the team members can successfully accomplish the goal by themselves. They need each other. And a shared goal means that all members have the same desired objective. Too often teams do not have the same goal. And now the question number 2. What are the key ingredients for team success? To be successful, teams need 3 things. The first, expertise, engagement, and execution. Teams need a triple degree. Seriously, teams need talented people, expertise. They need to be motivated, engaged, and they need to get the work done, execute. Now, the third question. Should all teams be designed in the same way? The answer is no. Team design depends on what the goal of the team is. So, let's talk about 3 types of goals that teams may have. To do this, we are going to use Carl Larson and Frank Lafoste's typology of teams to distinguish 3 types of work that teams do. There are tactical, problem-solving, and creative. Tactical teams, like the surgical team, the flight crew and basketball team, need clarity, and more time they spend practicing together, the better they perform. Professor Linda Argood and her colleagues had team assemble AM transistor radios together. Easier thing, right? No, wrong. when she removed their printed instructions. However, the teams that did the best with no instruction were the teams that had trained together the previous day. Teams who had done the same amount of training but with different people made a lot more errors. The key for tactical teamwork is training together. But sometimes we are not simply on tactical mission. We are trying to solve a problem. For example, one of my management students had a problem. The problem is how to increase customer engagement. When the goal is to solve a problem that does not have a well-defined solution, this is known as a problem-solving team. Examples might include teams attempting to stop the outbreak of Ebola, most task forces, or for that matter any teams that facing a challenge good or bad. These teams need a lot of trust. Think back to 2015 when the West African Ebola outbreak was sweeping across the globe. Scientists, medical personnel, and travel experts had to share information quickly and accurately. The World Health Organization and the UN Mission of Ebola Emergency Response team up for 90-day comprehensive plan to control and reverse the outbreak with a goal of 100% isolation of cases and safe burial of all casualties by January 4, 2015. By all counts, this team was highly successful in ending the epidemic. When you ask people what they care about most in teams, they always say trust. There are two types of trust in teams. Benevolence-based trust and competency-based trust. It should be noted that benevolence-based trust means I trust your intentions. Competency-based trust or respect means I trust your expertise. For problem-solving teams to be effective, you need both expertise and respect and trust your intention. A third type of work that teams do is creative teamwork. Examples might be a new product development group or writing team. These teams need a lot of autonomy. For example, when Pixar makes a move like A Bug Life or Toy Story 2, the development department assembles small incubation teams that are left alone to create. Pixar puts judgment aside during the incubation period. During this stage, you can't judge team by the material they are producing because it's so rough. There are many problems and open questions. So, let's summarize the question number 1 of our topic. As a team leader, know the goal of your team so you can set the stage for optimal performance. Let's proceed to consider the question number 2, size and diversity. Many leaders and companies want to form dream teams by getting superstars and putting them together and hoping magic happens. Let me give you one very interesting example. When the United States began using NBA stars instead of amateurs on its Olympic team in 1992, it was assumed the best players in the world would never lose. In 1992, in 1996 and 2000 Olympic Games, these dream teams crushed all their opponents with a perfect 24-0 record. But at the 2004 Games talent wasn't enough. The US team of superstars practiced together for a week before heading to the Olympics. In the first game of the competition, Puerto Rico beat the United States by point 22. The Puerto Rican team had played together for years. The US finished in third place, losing more games than had lost in the previous 68 years combined. So, it's not enough to put your most talented people on the same team and just hope that magic happens. Probably the most common question I get when it comes to how to assemble a team is, who should I put on the team? Most leaders approach team building like a cocktail party that you can see in this picture. They invite their friends and superstars. As we will see, this is not a good idea. I've done some research on this team, and Thompson also researched such issues, and I have made two alarming discoveries. First, the average team size is too big. According to nearly a standard of or rule of thumb. Second, teams tend to be too homogeneous. They lack diversity. So if you are ever lucky enough to build the team of your dreams, I want to help you avoid the two common building errors: the team overstep fan base and homogeneity base. The overstuffing base refers to the fact that teams are too large, just like the American Westline teams are getting bigger. The average team size is approaching 13 people. Just over 12 years ago, it was about 10 people. And you ask me, why is this? People want to be politically correct and inclusive, so we put everyone on a team, and teams are no longer special. So what are some rules of thumb? I will give you 4 of my favorites. And the first, Jeff Bezos' two-piece rule. If you cannot fit the members of your team with 2 pieces, the team is too big. The next rule is AT&T 7 plus or minus 2 rule. Teams should be between 5 and 9 members. The next rule, Harvard single-digit rule. Team in excess of 9 people are too large. Next, bare minimum rule. Choose the fewest number of people necessary to accomplish the task. The homogeneity base refers to the fact that people unconsciously build teams that are well too much alike. And some examples. Most people choose members based on personality, not expertise. Unconsciously, people are based toward their own race. Think of diversity like an onion. There are several layers. The outside layer is the superficial stuff. The inside layer is the deep, important stuff. The ideal type of diversity is deep-level diversity. Based on expertise, training, thinking styles, if you focus on superficial characteristics to the exclusion of deep level of diversity, you unwittingly create what Professor Kate Moran calls a fault line. A fault line is a dividing line that separates teams into distinct subgroups based on one or more attributes such as race, gender, functional area, etc. For example, in one investigation, a global team at telecommunications company discovered they had a serious fault line in terms of the engineers being primarily men and the marketing group primarily women. Fault lines in teams create unhealthy as versus the culture and as versus them culture. So, how should leaders deal with fault lines? First and foremost, diagnose them early. If you are thoughtful about building teams, you will realize it. Second, create energy and excitement around the task. It should be noted that when team members are excited about the work, they are not focused on superficial demographics. And third, when conflict emerges, build trust. It's so simple. And remember, there are two types of trust: benevolence-based trust and competency-based trust. As your team member, I need to trust your instincts and trust your expertise. Okay? Let's summarize. You get to build the dream team from the ground up. Best practices to keep in mind. 1. Assemble the fewest number of people possible. 2. Create a grid with the potential people as the row and their skills and competences at the columns. For each person, ask yourself, what skills and expertise does this person uniquely bring to them? Third, make sure you don't have overlap and avoid homogeneity. First, check for fault lines. And finally, trust in disclosure. Diverse teams to have potential for more conflict, so we will need some conflict management skills in our dream team. Now we consider roles and rules. Have you ever been on a team in which there is a free rider? That's an expression used to refer to the fact that some team members contribute a lot less than others on a team. Let me give you an example of frustrated team member. Imagine, let's call her Mary, who turned to Fortune magazine's career alumnus and Fisher for advice. Mary had to stay until 9 p.m. once again, missing her daughter's piano recital to finish a project because another member of her team, John, went waltzing out the door at 5 p.m. without completing his share of the work, with the deadline being the next morning. Other people on Mary's team had also picked up slack for John on many occasions. So it wasn't just Mary, but she was really starting to feel like chump. So far, John has gotten away with slacking off because he is very likable and fun to have around. And everybody tipped up around the fact that he's not doing his job. But Mary is really frustrated with his behavior and thinks that it's time to do something about this. In my own teaching experience, I have had countless people like Mary tell me similar stories. It have a lack of engagement or free riding is the number one issue that keeps leaders up at night. The question is how to prevent it from happening. The team charter is the favorite tool to combat free riders. The team charter is a living document that is written by all team members. There are three ingredients in the team charter, such as goals, responsibilities, and norms. By the way, it's not going to work if the leader, or heaven forbid, senior management, written the team charter and voiced it on the team. The charter needs to be collectively authored by the team. Don't let it exist on one page and don't put it in a file drawer. It should be a clear sight each time the team meets. Let's talk through each component. The first component, goals. Goals suppose you gave everyone on your team a post-it note or index card and ask them to write one sentence description of the team goal. Keep it anonymous. Would you see overlap? Many leaders find that there is little or no overlap. Team would be a lot better served if they revisited their overarching goal at the beginning of each meeting. Next component is roles and responsibilities. Oftentimes people are members of teams, but they don't know why they are there, and they don't know who's calling the shots. It's far better to be explicit about roles and responsibilities. It's very useful. Richard Hackman's model of team and leader responsibility. As we walk through this model, think about your own team. So let's start with manager-led teams. In a manager-led team, the team is responsible for executing the task and the leader is responsible for selecting the team members and monitoring and management performance processes. What's an example? Suppose I pull together a team to do a competitive analysis of other business schools that have executive leadership programs. I want a report completed in 6 weeks. I'm expecting weekly progress reports, and I will personally deal with making sure members are contributing. I realize I sound like an ogre, but I'm trying to make a point. Now let's move to self-management teams. The second team responsibility. In a self-management team, the team not only executes the task, but they not the leader are in charge of monitoring and managing their own performance. Let's go back to my competitive analysis team example. Suppose my team tells me, "Look, Naumova, We have already had a meeting. We will deliver the final report in 8 weeks, and we will update you every fortnight. And we will have our own meetings on Thursday to which you are not invited. Okay, you get the picture. They are monitoring their own performance, not me. A third type of team is self-directing team or self-designing work teams. Do all the things that self-management teams do, but in addition they select, recruit and staff the team. They have border control. Okay, let's go back again to this example. Suppose that the team announces that they have added Greg and Lisa to the team. Who the heck are these people, I might argue? Back off, Naumova. We did not ask for permission, and we are not gonna beg forgiveness. And just heaven knows what we are gonna do next week. Okay, I am over-dramatizing, but you get the picture. A fourth type of team is self-governing work teams. Self-governing teams do all the things that self-directing teams do, but in addition, they have some influence over the larger organization. For example, they may shape strategic direction and new initiatives. The most common question I get is, alright, already there are different degrees of leadership involvement with a team, ranging from hands-on, very directive, no very laissez-faire coach in the wings. You ask me, what is the ideal type of team? The answer is dependent upon your experience level as compared to that of your team, the organizational culture, how overcommitted you are, and a variety of other factors. Any one of these might be ideal. If you are not transparent about your relationship with the team, the risk you take is that people will feel overmanaged or underled. Rules of engagement. Many teams never discuss rules of engagement. They simply let things evolve. This is very advisable because, quite frankly, the least conscientious people will set bad norms. Did you know that norms are set within microsecond of team first meeting? It's far better to be proactive. And if I hear one more manager tell me that our rule is that we have no rules, I'm gonna scream. Teams that declare we have no rules ultimately become paralyzed by dysfunctional norms. Far better to have clear rules of engagement. Let me give you one example of team who set clear norms. Imagine a smart manager who were working at an offsite with a senior leadership team, and they brought it a big basket at the beginning of the meeting. All the senior leaders stood up and put their phones into this basket. Their norm was that no phone call or email could possibly be more important than listening to the people at this meeting. Is there any evidence that teams who develop charters are more effective? According to Ruth Weigand, the answer is yes. Well-designed teams with poor leaders outperform poorly designed teams with good leaders. Now, let's sum up. It's never too late to develop a team charter. Treat the chart like a leaf plant revisited. Adjust what's working, what's not working, what should be added. Finally, have the conversation with your team that too often is not had. What kind of relationship do you want with your team? If you don't have this conversation, someone is having it without you in the room, and that's not ideal. Now I would like to present you a little bit information about evidence-based management. In World War II, Winston Churchill appointed a team that he called his statistical office and gave them a clear goal. Depress me and disagree with me. Churchill realized that as a leader he was larger than life and that his team would want to agree with him, the way that in years later people on President John Kennedy's cabinet wanted to agree with him. Churchill further instructed his team to depress him with the bleakest, most depressing facts and figures. There is a relatively new idea that is sweeping through management science. Here it is. Teams should make decisions like scientists. Namely, they should develop hypotheses, devise critical tests, and be data-driven rather than outcome-driven. Some of you are probably wondering, well, would the alternative be evidence-based management? It's known as advocacy method. Thus, I want to distinguish inquiry from advocacy. Inquiry means scientific. Inquiry means scientific hypothesis testing. Advocacy means making an argument and attempting to support it. A question I often like to ask leaders is, if you conduct an experiment and ultimately receive data that doesn't agree with your hypothesis, do you throw away the theory or do you throw your data? Advocacy leaders throw away their data. Inquiry leaders throw away their hypothesis and put their pride aside. Let's introduce some key principles that will help. Let's introduce some principles that will help you lead your team to more effective decisions. Number 1. Use debate norms versus politeness norms. You should know that too often we treat team meetings like social events or dinner parties. We are polite and we compliment one another. The politeness ritual refers to the fact that people often say nice things rather than what they really think. This may be fine for social events, but not for making critical decisions about our organization and companies. The second key principle is leave status at the and titles at the door. When status differences are present, those who are subordinate may be reluctant to offer their opinion. Dr. Hun-Seok Choi observed that when company teams make decisions in Japan, the lowest status member of the team speaks first. Then the second to the lowest status person speaks. Then the third to lowest status person offers his opinion. Only after everyone has offered their views does the leader express his or her opinion. The principle number 3. Conduct private votes on sensitive, important issues. People confirm when voting publicly, but they speak their mind when voting privately. 4. Invite different perspectives. Some of you have heard of the term devil advocate. This is a person whose job it is to disagree with the group. The truth is, most groups don't have a devil advocates, and when they do, they are not very persuasive. If you are a devil's advocate, it's not enough to say, I disagree. Rather, it is vital to provide evidence that against the counterparty. It is far better to have a person who genuinely disagrees with the group speak up than a person who pretends to disagree with the group. 5. Hold multiply short meetings versus one long meetings. You should know that most groups have meetings that are too long and too infrequent. It is far better to have short frequent meetings than long infrequent meetings. Short frequent meetings allow group members to assimilate information and challenge each other's views. Number 6. The last one. Showcase failures. It's easy. Teams have learned how much value failures can bring. Every year, it is the team that has made the most significant failure wins an award. The company know that failures give everyone lots of valuable information and creates an environment in which teams and their leaders don't fear failure. This is what is meant by the learning organization. The problem with most learning organizations is that everybody wants to learn by observation, not by first-hand experience. It should be noted that we all need to experience failure firsthand.